Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 265 with myself, and well, it was going to be Jim Fuse, but hey, Jim actually has a bit of emergency, no power, no internet. Though, if you're trying to send him messages or any of that stuff, you're probably not going to be able to get a hold of him for a little while until all that gets fixed. But today we have a fantastic guest. I'm going to bring her on here in a second, but I want to let you know what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to primarily be covering WhatsApp, some really big updates from WhatsApp this week. And remember, WhatsApp is a Facebook partner. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, actually. Sorry. WhatsApp owns Facebook. Yes, you may not use WhatsApp a lot, but I can tell you if you're a business and you do any sort of business with customers overseas, they want to use WhatsApp. And so they use WhatsApp much more than Facebook for communications, for selling products, for shopping, all that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about some big updates. For example, the ability to shop from chats and much more. In addition to that, we're going to be talking about updates from Instagram Live and a big update from Pinterest as well. For those of you who've been spending a lot of time at home, Pinterest is definitely placing a lot of growth nowadays. And so if you're using Pinterest or you're even just spending your time browsing it, it's a good place to be, especially if you're a business. In addition to that, though, we're going to be talking with our guest, Brooke Sellas. We're going to be talking with her about what it means to improve your customer. Well, actually, what social media customer service is, and she talks a lot about being a social first customer care business. And hopefully I've said that right, but I'm going to go and bring her on, let her tell you a little bit about herself, and we're going to kick things off. So Brooke, it's fantastic having you on. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. 265. Wow. Congrats, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's a labor of love, a lot of hard work. Again, consistency is really the key to a lot of this. So it's about honestly getting on that track and just doing the work versus, hey, let me do it. Let me stop doing it. You got to get into a rhythm. So, but it's great having you on. Can you do me a favor? Can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, whether they're on YouTube or Facebook? But who is Brooke Sellas? What do you do?
Sure. So I'm Brooke Sellas. I'm the founder and CEO of B Squared Media, and we are a social first company. So we really focus on three main services that all have to do with social media, which is why we stay social first. The first that came along is probably the most obvious: social media management. That's where we come in and we manage our social pages. The second is paid media through social. We also do search, but social was first. So advertising through social. And then the third and newest is what we'll be talking about today, which is social first customer care. So that's where we help clients with their customer support through social media, because more and more customers are actually using social media to get customer support.
Fantastic. So you're ready to kick things off? I know we briefly chatted beforehand, but ready to kick things off?
Rete.
Fantastic. So I'm just quickly welcome everyone to this week's episode of Social Chatter. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Tim, thanks a lot for joining us as always. So the first topic I want to talk about this week, and I alluded to this at the beginning, and it's the fact that WhatsApp is adding a whole bunch of features. I'm going to go and bring this article up for you all. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot they don't say, honestly, about this. And it's a good update, actually. I think personally, for anyone who's using WhatsApp or is considering using WhatsApp, this is a good update for you. And there's three things that Facebook is adding to their WhatsApp service. And these include, first one, which is called in-chat shopping, Facebook hosting services, and they're going to start charging for various tiers for businesses on WhatsApp. Now, what I want to do is I want to unpack the first item, and it's the in-chat shopping feature. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to allow you as a business to sell through a WhatsApp chat. So basically people aren't going to have to go to a website. They're going to be able to pull in your product catalog, or sorry, they're going to be able to access your product catalog. So they're going to be able to see the information that you tell them about a product. And this means, okay, so like, for example, if you've got a Facebook shop or you have your products on Facebook, that can be brought into WhatsApp. You also, though, if you have the WhatsApp business app, as you should as a business to communicate with customers, this is a great place as well to list your products. If you're communicating with them there, they'll be able to get access to this from there. So this is, I don't know, I like this feature. What do you think, by the way, Brooke, about, WhatsApp shopping?
I think this is a fantastic update. I have to out myself. I don't use WhatsApp. I had a very needy client kind of ruin the WhatsApp experience for me and a couple of our team members. And then I deleted the app once that client was gone. But I will say, using artificial intelligence to help people shop through WhatsApp is exactly where they should go. And my hope is that, for all of you out there who have used Sephora and have dealt with kind of their shopping through their app and their AI and their customer service, if they can replicate what's happening on that platform through WhatsApp, I think they'll do a bang up job.
What was that? Audio? Did your audio go out?
Oh, hi. I don't know what happened there. I just looked down and I was on mute all of a sudden. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the last part you heard?
I heard something about Sephora and then it cut out. I think it switched your onboard mic on your computer, actually.
Oh, that's so weird. Do you want me to switch it back or do I sound okay?
You could try switching it back. It definitely sounds different.
Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry, tech woes. Yeah.
Here we go. I'm back on this mic now. How do I sound now?
Sounds great. By the way, how did you actually switch that really quickly? Do you have a certain app that you used?
No, I just ran into the little cogwheel and switched back to my microphone.
That's weird.
I don't know why it switched out of this though. Anyways, so what I was saying was Sephora. If you've ever shopped with Sephora and used their chatbots for any of your customer service needs or shopping needs, if WhatsApp can kind of formulate or replicate their services like that, I think it will be excellent because that's an amazing, really well done platform with artificial intelligence and helping people shop and get through customer service. And I just think this is the way things are going. So it's really not a surprise.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I love the point that you bring up there. If I'm using the Sephora app, for example, works great. If I'm, for example, one of the complicated things for a lot of businesses is when they go over to make a purchase, they go to somebody's website. And if their website is not designed for the commerce aspect, it can be a very messy process. And a lot of times it is a messy process because you're basically cobbling together various pieces of your business to help try to make it this one streamlined functional thing. But it really, for the most part, isn't, because it's a WordPress theme. It's a WordPress hosted site. It's, maybe you're using WooCommerce or Shopify for your sorry, maybe not Shopify, but WooCommerce for your checkout process, or maybe you're using something that's built into your theme. And then the customer has to go to the checkout, and then there's all the notifications on the back end, which for the most part, it can get to be a very messy and complicated process. So I like this feature. I like it a lot, actually. And the other thing is, people don't have to leave your website to go here to do this. Sorry, they don't have to go to your website. All it is, for you as a business. And I guess I'd say, what do you think about this? What do you think? Should a business maybe, instead of listing all of their product catalog on WhatsApp, all of the product catalog from their website on WhatsApp, should they maybe pick and choose, hey, let me put the ones that don't require a lot of information, things like that, on WhatsApp? And then
agreed. Yeah. Whenever I'm talking about customer experience, because I'll preface that by saying people hear the word customer experience and they feel like what customer experience means is that you have to roll out the red carpet for every single customer. And that's literally impossible and it's not scalable. Experience to me is closing the gap, right? Making every step that the customer goes through easier. And so you're exactly right. I think the smart way to do this, and what I love about this too, Christian, is that it allows
Mhm.
the small people to the game, right? Not just the big players. But
Yeah.
so take your best selling products, put those forward, then send people to the website if they want to purchase something that's not a bestseller, or like you said, things that are simple that don't require steps, or like it's a pencil versus the pencil sharpener. Think about what sells best, what your foundational products are, and that's where I would start with a program like this.
Fantastic. I love that. So add your foundational product. Fantastic. And then the other thing I'd say, if you want to get some of those other products in front of your customers, if you're emailing them, for example, if I'm getting a receipt, for example, from you, then maybe at the bottom of that email, I have related products that I'm recommending to you or suggesting.
Yes. People are how you see the plugin that a lot of people use, or e-commerce sites use, are like, people who bought this also bought this kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like, that would be really smart to include.
Definitely. And if you happen to be obviously, like if you're a Shopify customer, you typically get all this stuff built into their platform, because that's obviously the reason Shopify really exists, which is to be the one-stop shop instead of having to have all these extra tools that you're working with. But if you're already using that tool, it's the same thing. Just pull from the products that you're selling on your website, put a mini catalog on WhatsApp or Facebook or your Facebook shop, and then go about including, like, through the emails, include different touch points where you can connect with your customers to let them know about all the products you have. And you don't have to let them know, like, hey, here's, you bought this, as to your example, like say you bought a pencil. You're not going to give them like a recommended product list of like 30 products. It's like 3 to 5 products at the most that that complement that other one. So, okay. So that's part one of WhatsApp in chat shopping. Now, the second thing that they're also doing, and it's called Facebook hosting services. And I don't want people to get confused by this, because when you hear hosting services, I think people immediately think like website hosting, and they think of GoDaddy and Bluehost and WP Engine and SiteGround and whatever hosting sites there are out there. But what they're doing is they're working on hosting services, and it's not about them taking on Amazon Web Services, by the way. It seems like it's actually selling hosting services to like small businesses who are already using Facebook and WhatsApp messaging. So, so to basically drive them into a bit of Facebook's ecosystem. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes sense. It's a data play from Facebook's. Yeah. So it makes total sense from Facebook's evil strategy.
No, definitely. And so that's the Facebook hosting services feature. Again, it's not going to be geared towards everyone. It's not going to take on Amazon Cloud at the moment, I guess.
Right.
Now,
I was going to say for now.
Yeah, exactly. And so this gets into the third part, which is just going to also then be charging for tiers for business. Like, they haven't charged for WhatsApp for business yet. And so this is where I think that if you're a business, I mean, obviously Facebook primarily needs to recoup a lot of their revenue, because they're going to lose a lot of it very soon with iOS 14 and Google both rolling out features that will block ad tracking. It's already actually available if you go into settings. But I think when you combine these three things together, I think this does kind of suggest Facebook's kind of trying to become an Amazon, is what it seems like. I don't know. What's your take? I mean,
yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, Facebook, Google, Amazon, right, are the front leaders in data. Let's just call it what it is, which is data information. And I think, I think this is a big play to become bigger in that space, and maybe to take on Google and Amazon. However, I will say, if they did this right from a business perspective, I would love to pay for better business services through Facebook, WhatsApp, all of the Facebook platforms, because I think that could be a way to help them regulate what happens on the platform. And if you are advertising on Facebook right now, it's a hot mess. So I do see. I'm not scared of the payment structure. What I hope what I'm hopeful about with the payment structure is that they can come away with some regulations and some ways to support businesses who really do want to use Facebook to spend money, which is ultimately their goal.
Exactly. And I also look at it like this. So Facebook makes most of their revenue from ads. I think it's what 80 something 90%, I think.
Yeah, it's almost all of their revenue comes from ads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this makes a lot of sense. If I'm Facebook and I'm facing all these, obviously these hurdles right now, coming out with these, WhatsApp is a platform that they've not really tapped into. And I feel like, okay, well, hey, they can kind of like, it's almost like, the magic shell game where like you hide something underneath one. It almost sort of, I'm just saying, it seems like it might be a little bit like that in the fact that Facebook is obviously needing some revenue or needing to figure out ways to generate revenue aside from ads, because ads were very short-lived, or I think they will be short-lived, and the fact that people aren't going to be able to be tracked as much. So your ads are not going to be probably as effective. Having something like this now for WhatsApp makes a lot of sense. Now, the one question I would have on this is, do you see this actually being something where if Facebook were to roll out services for a business, if you're not a paying customer, do you think they would downgrade your newsfeed placement and your exposure at that point?
Yeah. I mean, I think whatever tricks they have available out there, disposal they'll use, unfortunately. I mean, they just updated their terms, maybe a month and a half ago now, that said basically to the effect that said, like, we can take down any content because we say so and we're Facebook. Like, so they're always going to be updating those terms of service.
Yeah.
My mic just went away again. Sorry. I
I just think, yes, here's the thing. Like, is it smart to use Facebook? Yes. Is there a moral thing going on with using Facebook? Yes. However, from my client's perspective, what I've seen is, they're willing to overlook the moral thing. They're willing to, let Facebook be all powerful because they get the most return from Facebook. And then I also think it's just really smart that they're trying to monetize WhatsApp, because I haven't seen the stats lately, but isn't WhatsApp their most used app within the Facebook family? Like, the most people use WhatsApp more than Facebook, more than Instagram. I'm pretty sure. So it's a layup then to figure out how to monetize WhatsApp.
Definitely. No, I think that WhatsApp if you're overseas, that is the tool that people use. They aren't using Facebook, for example. They're using WhatsApp for primary communication. They're not using, in some cases, they're not using websites. They're using the WhatsApp product. Now, I guess the hard part to this is going to be getting people who are not used to, for example, paying, so with this charging, with this tier feature, so they're talking about and they're not charging everyone necessarily at the moment, but they are talking about the number of messages you send. So for example, if you're in here, give me a country real quick, or let's pick United States. So if you're in the United States and you're sending the first 250,000 messages, which is a ton, by the way, you're paying 0.0085. So that's not even a penny per message. And then if you're, for example, going up to 3 million messages, you're sending, let's see what we got here. You're paying 0.007. And then if you go all up to anything greater than 25 million messages, which is ridiculous, you're spending 0.0058. So essentially you're spending almost a penny per message, but it is something to think about, if they do start to charge.
And don't forget, they did this with ads too. They did the freemium model for a long time. It's like a drug dealer to get you hooked. And then once you were hooked, it was like, oh, now they cost this, but it's really cheap. And now they cost this. And then we've seen the cost of ads going up exponentially over time since they've been launched. So I'm sure the same will happen with WhatsApp.
Definitely. And it's not something, I mean, I think it's going to be, they're going to have to get customers in there to, they're going to have to get them to understand they're going to get charged for messages at some point. But here's the thing. I also don't think that's a bad thing. I mean,
no,
if for example, if you make it very easy for people to send messages, fantastic. Like you said, you got them hooked. But the other thing people also need to understand is that, well, I don't want to just blast out 25 million messages. I want to make sure I'm sending out messages that actually make sense. So, and there's unfortunately a lot of marketers that do this. They send a lot of, garbage, basically, maybe for lack of a better word here. And, the problem with that, though, is that they're sending junk. It's not having any effect, and they don't really care because it's not costing them a lot of money when you think about it, when you start looking at the volume and things like that. So very interesting, though, that WhatsApp's making all these updates. You ready to move on to the next topic, or anything else you want to add, by the way, before we move on to the next topic?
No, I'm good. I'm ready.
Okay, so what's next? Where do we go? You want to talk Instagram? You want to talk Pinterest? What do you think?
Ooh, if I had to choose, I guess I'd choose Instagram over Pinterest, but I do love both. They both have their place, don't they?
They do, yes. Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk Instagram live updates real quick here, and then we'll move into some Pinterest. So here's what we have going on. Basically, Instagram has announced 3 new updates to Instagram Live, and hopefully people are starting to use Instagram Live a lot more, but they're adding the ability to go live for 4 hours. You can save your lives for up to 30 days using Instagram Live archives, and they're going to have a live now section in the IGTV app. Okay, so let's start with this first one. And remember, we're trying to position this for a business. Small, medium, large business, doesn't matter. So 4 hours of Instagram Live content. Who in the world, what business is streaming for 4 hours? What do you think?
Please don't do this. Please. Please do not go live for 4 hours unless you have planned an almost production quality, reality TV around your brand, services, or products or something like that, like a mini series. But if you don't have production quality miniseries to go fill that 4 hours with, do not do it. Maybe the only other thing I could see, some sort of QVC type. The holidays are coming up, holiday sale where you go online and it's you're hawking the items, right? But I still don't see that lasting 4 hours, but maybe it does. I don't know. I think 4 hours feels like overkill.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I don't know who would go live for 4 hours. I mean, if, for example, I'll say this, maybe I should preface it a different way. If I'm a business and I'm not getting I'm getting very few viewers, for example, on my lives or on my replays, then I don't want to be spending 4 hours of time on Instagram Live at the moment. I need to focus on building. I need to focus on identifying who my audience is, building that community, and getting those people to tune in. Whether that is through the live side or the replay or the native side. So I think that's the first angle I'd take. Don't, just because you can stream 4 hours doesn't mean you need to stream for 4 hours.
Right. Just because you can go live doesn't mean you should go live. Let's start there.
No, because live video, it's a great thing. It can be a very useful thing, but you have to have a strategy for it. As you mentioned, you have to know, for example, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, if you're going to make an episodic show, great. Spend the time, script out well, first off, before you actually write it, let's survey our customers and see if they're actually interested in that. And then if you're not, don't spend the time doing it. If they're vaguely or mildly interested in it, maybe you should start on that screenplay, essentially. But you don't have to let me rush this to market, and instead spend your time. I'd spend my time somewhere else. I'd spend my time focusing on, for example, the native aspect. Because, if you're going to plan out your videos, create them and share them on your channel, and then look at your analytics and see how they're actually performing. So, okay. So Instagram Live for up to 4 hours. Okay. So the ability to, this is all minor stuff, probably. You can save your lives for 30 days before they get deleted. So again, good feature, bad feature. What do you think?
I like it only because I feel like it's going to keep marketers honest. It's like you were saying, a lot of the content out there is garbage. And this is going to make people really think about investing the time to create something because it disappears after 30 days. So it better get that action that you're looking for within 30 days. Otherwise, you just wasted a lot of time and money. So I like that because I feel like it keeps our side honest. Our side being marketers versus consumers, or businesses versus consumers.
Definitely. Now, if I'm a business, is there something I can do to take advantage of this? I mean, should I maybe be creating maybe this content off of Instagram instead of using the live aspect? Should I?
You need to be. Yes, I'd say testing content on all platforms that you use. So a really easy thing that we do at B Squared, we call it the seesaw report. We do it for all of our clients. Every week, we look at the top performing post, top 3 by platform, and bottom 3 by platform every single week without fail. And what happens is we look at like little micro trends that we see popping up with that popular content or the unpopular content. Over time, those micro trends help us understand what customers want, what customers are engaging with, what makes them have a conversation through our content on social, and then we post more of that. So I would start there. Start doing your seesaw, and then once you start to understand like what customers want to see, then maybe try to go into a short live or try to go into something like that, and maybe turn that into a longer live kind of thing. Like it's all about testing. You have to constantly testing and check your gut. We're always doing things on gut, but let the data tell you what to actually go forward with.
Exactly. And a lot of people, they unfortunately look at it and say, okay, well, this is what they don't use the data. Rely on the data. Look at the data. The data will tell you exactly what you need to know. For example, if you make a YouTube video, you can go in and you can look at your YouTube videos and you can see exactly how much time people spend watching. For example, if you are creating a 4-hour video, then look at how much time people are watching. If the content, for example, if they're not watching, 3 hours of the content, I'd look at, well, what's the topic about? Is that something that people are really interested? The main thing is, are they actually going to spend 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours? I mean, you have to kind of think about who your audience is. For example, if it's social media content, a lot of people are watching very short content, things don't even rival 3 hours if you think about it. I mean, for example, I don't watch them. If there's a movie that I want to watch and it's 3 hours long, I look at it and say, oh, well, do I have 3 hours? I could be spending 3 hours doing something better with my time, for example. So it has to be really, really, really good content for me to watch for 3 hours. And at the same time, I might not watch for 3 hours. I might watch for 1 hour or an hour and a half, maybe a maximum of 2 hours. And then I will go and do something else and then come back to watch that content potentially. So, so definitely a lot of things you need to consider. The data is going to tell you that. It's going to tell you how long people are watching. It's going to tell you where they're dropping off. For example, if you're getting them to watch like 1 hour and they're dropping off, maybe this doesn't need to be a full hour.
Maybe we don't need to use the 4 hours. Yeah. Just because it's available doesn't mean you should do it.
No, exactly. And I love the idea, as you mentioned, about repurposing, because you do need to repurpose the content. You can't just create it and expect it to just like perform. You do need to do a bunch of other things. For example, this show, I do this show here live, but then I repurpose it. I put it into a blog post, for example. We have landing pages for various things. We also can then pull out various clips from the show and put them into other things as well. That can, for example, go into a drip campaign where, maybe there's little small snippets of 30 seconds or less that people can consume and then go to the full thing if they want to watch the rest of it. So definitely useful. And then the third part, by the way, to this update is that Instagram is also rolling out live now in the IGTV app. Basically, it's just going to tell you when somebody's live. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer to me. I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm funny like that. Like, I don't watch a lot of people's stories or now reels that have come out on Instagram. I do sometimes, and it's mostly like for close friends or whatnot. So like for me, like I'm like, that doesn't really mean anything to me. But for the people who are like true voyeurs, I guess, and who love watching all of the now live and reels type content that's on Instagram, it just makes it easy for them to find something new to watch.
Great points. Okay. Anything else you want to add about these IG or Instagram live updates?
No, I think, I think it has there's something there. There's a there, but I can't quite pull the thread out. But there's a there about how these apps are moving towards doing these things from home, like doing these things during the pandemic. Like, I don't know what the there is, but it's like interesting. I can't put my finger on it, but it's interesting how these apps are bringing people together while they're alone. That alone together theme, there's something there.
No, good points. I mean, people want that connectivity, with someone else, but obviously with the pandemic, they're not able to really do that. So
Mhm.
I think it makes a lot of sense. But again, I mean, also one thing I want to really quickly highlight, and you made a good point of this, and I want to learn a little bit more, which is just the fact that you mentioned, hey, you don't really consume a lot, you're a marketer, you don't consume a lot of reels. For example, you don't watch a lot of Instagram lives. Is that because you're spending your time creating more content, or what's your, you know what I mean? Because like you could either be too much one way, which is like, hey, I'm consuming too much and not creating anything, or I'm creating too much and not consuming. What's your take on that real quick?
I think less is more important. I would consume more, create less. If it were me, that's just my advice, but I don't know why I don't consume. You know what? It's maybe because I'm just older. And so I don't necessarily get the allure of like watching people I don't know do things on Instagram. Like I said, like I'm interested if it's someone I know in real life personally,
Right.
but I don't have that built-in like voyeurism to watch people I don't know do things. I just don't care. That sounds but I think it's because I'm older, I'm a Gen Xer, so I just don't have that like millennial or Gen Z like thing about wanting to watch people do stuff, I guess, that I don't know, who I don't know.
I mean, good point. All good points. It was just a question just to figure out, like, hey, are you, because some people will not consume any content and they will just be creating content. So, I was just wondering.
I think for me, I feel like you have to consume to create, right?
Mhm.
Like that it would make you a better creator to consume.
Definitely. Okay. So now are we ready to talk Pinterest?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk Pinterest. Okay, so what we have going on this week, basically Pinterest is adding a number of new tools. These things include things such as presentation discovery and some ad options to help our retailers with their end of year push. What's your take on this one? I mean, pretty big update.
Pretty perfect. I mean, it's pretty perfect. If you look at consumerism right now and how e-commerce has gone up, I mean, people are spending more and more time online because of the pandemic. I think it's a little late, in my opinion, for the holidays. They should have launched a little bit sooner, but like, hey, it's still out before the major holidays, which I think is smart. And we're shopping. If you look at some of the shopping trends that are happening, we're shopping for things that are inspirational. We're shopping for things that bring us comfort. We're nesting at home, right? We're making our homes a more comfortable space. The only thing that I can think of though, as far as like other sales items, like for me personally, again, I can only speak from my experience, but like I see all of these sales from my favorite brands online and I get really excited because some of them are like 40 or 50% off, but then I don't buy because I'm like, where am I going to wear this outfit to? So
no, and that's a really good point because, for example, right now, you're like, for example, if you are a personal assistant, maybe personal assistant, like you're a
personal shopper.
Sorry, I was going to say a design consultant or somebody like that for.
Oh yeah.
The name escapes me right now, but if you're somebody who helps somebody with their image, for example, and they wanted to have custom suits, for example, or custom shirts and things like that made, because hey, they make you look great, make you feel great as well. People aren't going to buy that right now. Those services are not being used right now. And at the same time, to your other point, hey, where am I going to wear that? It's great to, buy and have in your closet, for example, but it's not something that you're going to necessarily use. So we're putting our money into other things, I think, right now. The other thing,
like Nordstrom they do like Nordstrom's trunk, which is where you can get like a whole like selection of outfits that work together in one trunk. They have a trunk that's like the work from home trunk that I saw an ad for on Pinterest or Instagram or somewhere, Facebook, probably all of them. And I was like, ooh, like good top that you could be on video with, but like comfy bottoms, and like sneakers. And so like that was a smart play in my mind because it was like, hey, business on top, party on the bottom.
No, that's a great example. Actually, it's a fantastic example because a lot of people are, they're basically just they're wearing pretty much, just the top. They're not wearing the bottoms. And I heard a similar study as well, by the way, about that. There were people that were talking about how a company that sold suits, they were selling more jackets and dress shirts and no pants. So it makes it makes perfect sense that that they would sell it. I think that's a great marketing idea on their part. I mean, because it does get people who are looking like they still want to look professional. They're able to do that, and then that's able to help juice their sales a little bit as well. So I think it's a really good update I think it's a good move by by Nordstrom, but it's also a good move by Pinterest as well.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at Facebook storefronts, it's a large that for Pinterest, and I'm glad that they're moving forward with creating their own storefronts because yes, Facebook is like the behemoth, but I feel like a lot of people spend a lot of time on Pinterest and for e-commerce, which again we already said like people are shopping online like crazy. Like I think Pinterest is one of the top places they go. When you search for certain items, Pinterest is like the first 2 or 3 things that come up in Google search too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Pinterest also just had their earnings yesterday, actually, and they had a huge revenue beat and strong user numbers as well. So, to the point where their stock, for example, jumped like 30% just overnight. So, definitely big moves from Pinterest. Here's the other thing, though. One thread that I want to highlight here, it's the fact that people who are, we talked about this at the beginning of the show with WhatsApp in chat shopping. We talked about how like if you're going to go and publish your products on there, you put them on, say, a Facebook shop and a WhatsApp business account. Pinterest has the same type of feature. You have a product catalog, basically a storefront that is going up on the front of your Pinterest business account. And so you want to make sure, again, you put the main product there. You make sure you have good photos of your products. I mean, even in this example, even this right here, I mean, it's like, hey, it's very, it's eye-catching in a way because it's the person wearing, some full outfit, but then they're able to scroll and see all of the individual items. And then in that, they're able to see recommended items as well. So you've got featured, you got shop by category, and then you got ones that are just for you based on your buying habits. And this doesn't really hasn't changed much from an e-commerce standpoint. This is how it's always actually been for quite a while. But it really, comes down to you as a business. You need to make sure you're spending the time, getting those good products. For example, getting good photos of the products. For example, right now, if you're not able to actually have a physical storefront, then maybe you need to be focusing on taking some photos of your products.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
Oh, I was just gonna say, our iPhones have such I'm partial to iPhone, but your phone, period.
Yeah.
If you have a newer phone, has such an amazing camera capability right now. There's no reason why you couldn't set up a space inside of your home to get fresh pictures up of your merchandise.
Definitely. And the key thing is, it's lighting. For example, like right now, my lighting on my part of my video, it's not that great. I've got a big shadow behind me, and that's partly because I've got my light coming in from a different direction than it normally is. In your case, you've got a nice backdrop and you've got some good lighting going on, but but businesses should be able to take these photos. And if you need help with this, I mean, I'm happy to provide advice, on how you all can, improve the photos for your business for these various shopping avenues. But so in addition to obviously like a number of these tools, one other thing I want to highlight, by the way, about Pinterest is just the fact that this is not, you as a business need to put in the work to improve the business so that the consumers are going to find it enticing. And what I mean by that is like they're rolling out features. They're not going to do the selling. They're not going to do the selling for you, but they're going to help you. So for example, if you spend the time creating great photos for your products, they're giving you tools to present them in a much cleaner way. For example, you don't have to do any like workarounds to actually display your products on your Pinterest account. They're also making it easier for your products to be discovered. So for example, they have the tagging feature as well. So there's product tagging for a product. So it's as simple as, let me click on the item. Let me click, select it in my Pinterest option here, my menu option, and then let me make that update for my customers. So I don't know. I think this is a win-win for business. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just think, if you are an e-commerce shop, if you sell any part of your product or services online, that you should definitely be looking at Pinterest as a place to market your business.
Definitely. And another thing they're also doing is they're also updating the catalog as well. So it's easier for you to get your product into the Pinterest shop. And here's the thing, the way that typically will work is they're using a catalog feed ingestion tool. So basically you're taking a CSV file, you're following pretty much the template they're giving you, and then you're uploading it to your Pinterest site. And then that's putting your products into your catalog. So it's not
I love it. Yeah,
So-
they make it so user-friendly. It's great.
Exactly. It's very easy. So, as you can see, hopefully from this animated GIF as well, I mean, it's super easy to submit the content to them, and then they're going to just review it. Pretty simple. So if you're not doing it, you're really missing out, I think, on a big opportunity here with Pinterest. So, okay. So we got Pinterest. Anything else you want to talk about real quick? Do we want to talk about, TikTok real quick, or do you want to talk questions?
It's up to you. Admittedly, I'll out myself again. I'm not a TikToker. It's the voyeur thing. Like I don't watch other people do things. It doesn't interest me for whatever reason. I've seen some really hilarious TikTok stuff that people have shared with me, but it still hasn't enticed me to sign up.
Okay. Well, so what we're going to do with that is, I'll put that in the blog post recap. Actually, I put that in the blog post recap. That'll go live sometime this weekend. And if you want to get that, you can go to socialchefs.com/daily, sign up for that newsletter that we send out, and that will get you access to the recap when we send it out. Okay, so let's do this. So I know we mentioned, we want to talk about, we want to talk about the importance of social media customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's just take maybe a minute here. What do you think? So social media customer service, what is it and why does it really matter for a business? Obviously we're heading into the holidays as well.
Yeah. Perfect timing for it. But social first is essentially just like it sounds. It's the use of social media channels to take care of your customers' needs. So when we say customer care, we're not including service because, long story short, we feel like service is reactive, which we'll get into a little bit later when we talk about social listening, and care is proactive, right? So our clients come to us to outsource their social media customer care or customer service needs, because what happens is they usually have an internal team that handles phone and email. And then what's happening is these younger generations more and more are turning to social to have their questions answered, and the internal team can't cover it. Or what's happening is more and more, because social is 24/7, people are asking these questions when they're not at work. So off hour times, weekends, late at night, early in the morning, and those internal customer care teams aren't on at those times. They work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 or whatever it may be. Okay. So essentially, the service is just to help them get through all of these requests with their customers, because there was a stat released by Salesforce earlier in the year, or it was last year actually, that says almost 85% of customers now say that the experience that you give them is just as important as the products or the services that you sell. So, customer experience is a super hot word, but what that really means is taking care of your customers and caring about your customers. So essentially it's really simple what we're doing. We're just helping our clients take care of their customers through social media more than 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We are a 7-day a week, 365-day a year service.
Fantastic. So if I'm a business, so one of the big pushes by Facebook has been, and again, you hear me talk about Facebook, but Facebook is trying to combine Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp messages into one place. And one thing I often see from a lot of businesses, or see and hear from businesses, is they miss some of these messages. For example, if they're not on their phone 24/7, they then get a message and then they're really not sure. Well, okay, they waste more time in a way going to figure out where they actually need to go and get that information. For example, was it Facebook Messenger? Which Facebook Messenger app was it? Was it Facebook Messenger? Was it Facebook page? Was it my Facebook profile? Was it Instagram? Was it WhatsApp? Do you think that they should connect? So if they want to better handle this stuff without having to outsource it, do you think that they should connect all their services together? Because hey, they can kill three birds with one stone there, essentially, or
Yeah. And like you said, Facebook's been doing that. So Facebook's been combining, like if you've been inside of your Facebook Business Manager lately, you've seen that if you can connect your Instagram inside of your Facebook Business Manager, which will then allow all of your messages from Instagram to also show up in the back end of your Facebook Business Manager, so that every mention is in one inbox. And that's smart. It's just, it's a time saver. It's more efficient. It's more streamlined. So yeah, I mean, if you're a small business using Facebook Business Manager to manage your Facebook sites, you should absolutely combine them. If you're, a medium to larger size business, I would say invest in a social media tool or a dashboard that will bring all of your, not just Facebook, but Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, all of your mentions into one centralized inbox, because that's just more efficient.
Definitely.
Not that we don't natively, because tools all can mess up, but yes.
Definitely. So what I did was I dropped a link here, by the way, in the comments for those of you watching, but it's basically a link to Facebook Business Suite, which is a place to manage all of your connections, place to manage your activity, for example, for your Facebook page and for your Instagram account. So if you have them connected, you can easily just log in and see, what kind of updates you have and see all your messages as well. For example, somebody mentioned you in a story. Someone asked, if they want you to share something and so forth. So definitely worth checking out there. Okay. So anything else you want to add about that aspect before? So we talked about what it meant to offer social first care. Yeah.
I think, when you look at answering your customers or supporting your customers through social media, obviously you can't be available 24/7. Think about maybe using some of the chatbots that Facebook, again, just talking about Facebook or a chatbot in general, if we're talking about a different platform, to let people know when you're not available. So when you go home evening, have the chatbot turn on and answer some of those frequently asked questions for you, and just say like, hey, I'm a bot. The humans are sleeping right now, but they'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And if you leave your email in this space, they'll get back to you at some point tomorrow or within the next 48 hours, whatever you're capable of doing, and then make sure you do it. And then as those mentions come in, we talked about data earlier. I think it's really important to make sure that you're triaging your mentions. So triage, when they come in, we label them on our site as green, yellow, or red. Green is easy. And what we find is that a lot of clients who outsource with us don't have time to answer greens. Greens are like, we love this product. Amazing. I made the best soup with your crock pot yesterday. They're not answering these because they don't have time, but that's, again, customer experience and customer loyalty comes from answering the greens or the positives too. And just saying, oh my gosh, Christian, we are so glad you had a wonderful experience with our crock. Share a picture of your soup with us, and we'd love to use you, on Instagram as a win-win situation or whatever it is, user-generated content. Then yellows come through. These are things that we may be able to answer as the outsourced partner, but we might not be able to answer. We create what's called a frequently asked questions document, so that as these yellow questions come in, we work with the client to figure out what is the appropriate way to answer this, not sure how to answer a question. And then we know moving forward how to answer it. So those are yellows. They can either become greens or they can become reds. And reds mean we have to turn it to the internal team to close the loop. So somebody needs a refund or somebody has shipping issues. We can't solve that for the customer. The internal team has to solve that. So that has to go internally. And then we work with them on a process for closing the loop so that on social, we can show that we solved that problem for the customer.
Fantastic. So a couple of points there. So do you think, should a business be upfront? So for example, if you're managing certain aspects of that social media customer service side, should your side be upfront with the customer? They're like, hey, we're actually, a paid company to help, hired to help them. Or should it be like, hey, a certain representative might be, we'll be back in touch with them. Does that make sense? You follow where I'm going here?
Yeah, it depends on the customer. Every customer kind of is different. Some customers are like, hey, let's be open and transparent and honest. And that's wonderful. I would say The majority of the clients don't sit quite so much in that open space. They include us as part of their team, but they call us like their social reps. We're not actually like their customer support, customer service.
Right.
We can't solve all the problems like a refund or whatnot. So we just say, hey, we're just managing social. I'm going to turn you into Kristen, who can make sure we get you your password updated or whatever it may be.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, just to like, I actually like your idea of saying like, hey, let's turn this over to a bot at certain hours. And then that bot can actually be sort of playful. It can add some, fun to a business. For example, like, hey, humans need their sleep. You could easily do something like humans need their sleep. They'll be back in, or, it could spout off some like random like stat, like humans need approximately, 7 point blah, blah, blah hours of sleep a night. Currently sleeping or something like that. They'll contact you tomorrow. Like, I think you could really have some fun with that. The other side of it though, is if I'm, for example, if I'm somebody who is trying to get in touch with somebody, if I have customers, they're trying to get in touch with me and it's obviously outside of my hours, should I use like the sunset model, which is like, hey, I have somebody who handles the certain shifts, for example, during the day and in the evening, and then I might stagger someone else to handle the rest. Do you think that's a good thing? Like, is that a better thing? Or is it kind of, hey, if your business cannot support that and you're a solopreneur, for example, then maybe you need to have, hire someone else to do the other handling side. What's your take?
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on what your, capabilities are, both with like personnel and budget, obviously. But when we're talking about our enterprise clients, that is the way we do things. We create shifts essentially. So during certain shifts, certain people are working, and that does also lend to that customer experience and customer loyalty, because if they come back with another problem, hopefully they don't. But if they do, they know that like, oh, Christian, I talked to you last time and you were able to help me. So automatically there's like that built-in trust that Christian's going to be able to help them again.
Definitely. Okay. So I think I have one more question for you, right? So we talked about social listening, actually. So we covered that one, right? Or not? Let me see.
No, not yet.
Okay. By the way, I think your mic switched back.
It did. I don't know why.
It keeps doing that. Why? Why? Okay.
So we talked about what it meant to offer social first customer care. So social listening, can you define it for viewers?
Yeah. So I think the number one way to explain it is that a lot of people confuse social listening with social media monitoring, right? And those are not the same things. So social media monitoring is what we all should be doing. It's the most basic level of social media marketing. Someone reaches out to your company through social, they mention you, and you respond to that mention. That's social monitoring. It's very reactive. Okay. Social media listening is taking things and making them proactive. It means that we're going to a proactive place by going beyond just the mention. So it includes mentions, but we're listening for keywords and conversations across social media and the web that pertain to our brand. So that we're deep diving, we're analyzing into the conversations and trends that are happening beyond our brand. We're looking at our industry, we're looking at our competitors, and then we're analyzing that conversation for sentiment around the keywords that we're trying to understand. So do people feel good about us? Are they neutral about it? Are they negative when it comes to this certain keyword? Does that make sense? Like, I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but
no, it makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm really glad you've actually clarified that, because a lot of people look at it and they think it's all the same thing. They think like, hey, I'm listening to my customers and what they're saying on social media. Instead though, so you need to monitor your accounts, and you need to take into account what people are saying. For example, if they're constantly telling you, hey, something is broken on your website, then you can take that and fix a part of your business. For example, if they're saying, well, hey, I need, they don't understand how certain, say you have a product you offer, they don't understand how it works. You're getting a lot of people actually asking you the same question. Maybe I need to add this to that FAQs page to help my social first customer care aspect. Or, maybe and again, you have to also think like this. This can help reduce if you have issues. For example, if you're getting a ton of questions on a certain topic, maybe you need to take the time to alleviate all those questions coming in by actually going, and maybe you need to update your tutorial, for example, or
Addressing the problem.
exactly. Otherwise, like, oh, the questions are going to still come in, and you're going to have to figure. And here's what you're going to do: the individual is going to be so overwhelmed because they're going to constantly be just trying to like check it off the list. Like, okay, great, I responded to that message, but it's like, well, you're not addressing the real problem, which is, hey, I need to actually fix that part of the business, for example, whether it's the website or the, writing an article on it or something like that. And if you don't have time to write the article, that's where you can outsource that, for example, as well, to somebody who can write that article for you. So then you can alleviate that problem. So while addressing your customers' problems.
Yeah. So monitoring basic 101 social, and even a lot of brands, unfortunately, still aren't doing that part right? They're getting all these mentions and then they're not responding. And monitoring tells you the what, right? It's very like basic when it comes to data. Social listening tells you why, right? This is where we start to take this data and we can come back and we can inform our campaigns. We can improve our content strategy. We can change our messaging. We can look for influencers in specific keyword spaces or for our brand. We can even help with product development and research, R&D. I mean, it really can help any aspect of your business.
Definitely. And, I would say this, the other thing that you mentioned, we talked about social first customer care. If you don't have an FAQ page set up for your business, for example, there are tools that can do this for you. Like they can basically be like, they're a repository of, like, for example, if you have a WordPress, you can build an FAQ page very quickly with the common questions that you get. And the whole point of this is so that it alleviates all of the questions from a customer necessarily. And I'm not saying like questions from customers are a bad thing. You want questions, but if you're constantly getting the same question, you don't need to be responding. Sorry, you don't need to be writing out every single response every single time to those customers. Instead, it could be something like, hey, let's talk about like a return policy for a business. If you have a return policy in your business, don't just expect like, hey, I'll put a banner up on my website, and expect people to know to go check your website, for example. If you're getting the question all the time, you have a page on your website that you've created, you've built this page, you own this page because it is your website versus on a social media channel. And so you can quickly, if somebody, let's say they answer you on or ask you on Facebook or Twitter, hey, I want to know what your return policy is. You can easily refer to that and you can just write them a very simple message like, hey, thanks a lot for reaching out. Here is our return policy, just a quick reminder about it, and then give them a link.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're sending that traffic to your page and you're not on rented land, right? You're sending them to land. And you can follow that up and say, like, if you have any questions or specific questions, come back. I'm here and I'll answer them for you. But like you were saying too, even with the FAQs, I mean, that's another great reason to use it. A lot of companies will use a bot before they use a human because it's cheaper, it's more efficient. The bot answers the question 100% of the time with 100% accuracy. And those FAQs, if that's all you get, if it were me, I would use a bot. They're cheap, they're easy. And, that bot's going to answer that question 24/7. Now, if they have a question the bot can't answer, then the bot should have the ability to go get a human.
Exactly. And the other thing also with the bot, so let's just look at it like this. If I create that FAQs page, so for example, you can actually have bots hook into the FAQs page, and that's the place that they search for things. And so this way, they can easily go and get the information for you and send it back to your customer while you're, for example, maybe getting your sleep, getting a little rest, moving something ahead in your business. So definitely pay attention to, to the aspect of the social media monitoring and the listening, and make sure you set up that FAQ page. Okay. So third question for you, and I think we sort of might have addressed this, but how can businesses combine social first customer care and social listening to improve their connections with their customers or their potential customers?
So that's a great question. And funnily enough, we actually require our customer care clients to use social listening because customer care, to care means that you're proactively caring for someone. It's not reactive to be caring, right? If you're caring for something, it's a proactive action. So we say that we can't effectively be good customer care, customer support people without using customer listening, or so I'm sorry, social listening, because we want to move from that reactive space and we want to be proactive. So we want to look at all data points and all the conversations that are happening about our brand or our clients or their keywords, and be able to inform every piece of the business and the marketing strategy with that data. You cannot do that with social media alone because, again, it's reactive, right? We're only seeing when people mention us. And as a brand, you would be surprised to know how many people are talking about you without actually mentioning you.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And that is a frustrating thing, because if you're not monitoring that sort of thing, like, you're missing out on so much of the conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stuff like, it's people talking about you, and I realize, like, you can't be everywhere, but this is where, like, you as a business need to address, like, hey, if you're getting a ton of questions from people on certain things, then, and you're not able to answer them, or you're not doing a good job at answering them, maybe the first step would be, okay, why am I not responding to these? Is it because I'm just not doing a good job with my calendar, for example? Or am I too busy? What aspect do I need to change on my end? And, if that's the case, then, hey, maybe I need to look at hiring someone to actually handle some of this for me, versus me just letting it kind of fall by the wayside. So definitely something worth checking out. So I love these level of the questions that you've answered for us today. I mean, I think that hopefully viewers will take something away from them, and for me, I think the key thing is set up that FAQs page, spend the time jotting down a list of all the common questions that you get on a daily basis, and if you notice and look for patterns. If you notice the same question comes in once a month, for example, maybe I need to create a page on my website that answers that question. If I notice, this question comes, and how do I prioritize that? I get that question 5 times a day. That tells me something's wrong. Maybe I need to fix that. It'll help free up, give you more time, I think, in your business. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to make sure we get all these answers from Brooke, and we're going to put them into our blog post recap, but we're going to switch over to our third segment real quick. And this is tool time, where basically each week we identify 2 tools that we think can help you as a business. Now, the first tool we're going to talk about, and this one is called Sprout Social. And I know, Brooke, we had talked about this one actually a few weeks ago, I think. And I don't know, do you want to tell our viewers, what is Sprout Social?
Absolutely. So Sprout Social is at its core, a social media dashboard. So when I was saying, like, if you use several different social channels, it makes things more timely and efficient if you have one inbox. Sprout Social allows you to connect all of your social media platforms to their dashboard, so that you have one place to manage all of those tools. So one inbox, you have one publishing area where you can send out and publish on those platforms. And on top of that, they also now have social listening. So we use Sprout Social as well, not only as a dashboard, but we use them for social listening. So their machine learning and artificial intelligence, we pop in the keywords, we put the queries together. They're like Boolean queries, if you're familiar with that, if this, then that, or kind of thing. And then that machine goes out real time and listens to all of the information that we're asking for. For us as a human, it would be like trying to take a sip of water from a fire hose. We could not process that kind of data on our own. So their tool allows us to process that data, bring it back to us, and then the way they have their reporting, essentially it allows us to slice and dice all of that data for our clients specific to their needs, because not every client has the same key performance indicator or goal. So we can take all the things back and then slice and dice it and pull it into a pretty report for our client based on what their needs are.
Fantastic. So what's the cost, by the way?
The cost ranges. It is a more expensive tool. I want to say on the low end, it's like $99 per month. On the high end, I mean, I think for their enterprise level, which includes like premium analytics and social listening, it's what we're on. You're talking about a few $1,000s a month. So I would anywhere from $99 a month to a few $1,000s a month is the spend. And that just depends on how many platforms you have, how many users you have, how many seats you have, all of that good stuff. So it's not what I would say is a cheap tool, but I would say it's a very robust tool.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I will say, I mean, I've used it before. They have fantastic analytics tool. So definitely look at Sprout Social if you need the social listening aspect. Obviously, I mean, they're used by quite a number of very large companies. If I'm a small business, do you think, is this something I should look at using?
If you're a small business and let's say you can't afford $99 a month, you can use free tools. There's Google Alerts, which, believe it or not, still works pretty well. You just have to make sure you set up your search correctly. There's also socialmention.com. They'll give you a couple of like free searches based around like, say, your brand name or whatnot. And they'll even give you a tiny bit of sentiment. So there are other ways to listen. So don't feel like you have to cough up a bunch of money to get there.
Right.
You start somewhere, I would say. Like start with the free, and then as you get good and as business picks up because you're getting good and you're taking care of your customers and they're coming back and they're bringing their friends, then maybe you could get a tool like Sprout.
Fantastic. So be sure, if you want some alternatives, Social Mention, and then Google Alerts, and then remember Google Alerts. I mean, it's been around for a while. I think it's google.com/alerts. I think is that the URL.
You can also go on your Google dashboard in Gmail and go up to that little like square thing with the dots, your menu essentially, and go get to alerts through there too. So yeah, but just Google Alerts and you'll get there.
Yeah, it's google.com/alerts. Check that one out. And then the second tool that we have this week is a tool to help you improve your meetings. And this one is actually new. I've not had a chance to actually try this. I'm on their wait list to try this, and it's called Vowel. And so it has features to help you plan, to help you host, transcribe, search, and share your meetings. And I like the aspect. I mean, if we're doing a lot more virtual meetings, I think that this could be a very useful tool in the sense that, well, if I ever need to go back, maybe I didn't take notes during the meeting, then I can easily go back and I can share that content. So I can go back and so I can view the meeting, and then I can search the meeting. And then this way it's going to be easy for me to go about finding, what it was about the meeting that I needed. So you can go there, you can sign up to try it out. Let me see. So I'm going to, I think I can play this video. Let me actually play this real quick. And we'll go from there, actually. And this is just a quick minute and 20-second video. And by the way, I got the sound off because obviously when you do play videos, sometimes you do get flagged by Facebook and Instagram, Facebook and YouTube sometimes for the stock audio.
Copyright, yeah.
Yeah. We had that happen on a previous show, actually. So that was quite interesting.
Oh, so fun.
Exactly, right? But the great thing is you can go through, you can record. So the meetings will get recorded. At the same time, though, they're going to be searchable, and you're going to get the chat aspect as well, which will help you. So basically what's happening is as people are speaking and they're talking about certain things, you can then go and search through those meetings using basically AI. So I think this is a really smart thing. I mean, what's your take on this tool?
I love it. I mean, like I said, artificial intelligence is where we're going. I think we're only going to see more and more of these types of tools come in and disrupt the space. And I think, we shouldn't be scared of artificial intelligence. It's not like, what's the iRobot? It's not like Will Smith and iRobot where they're going to turn bad and gather out to get us. They don't replace us either. So, you have to think of AI as a tool to make you better at your job for very little cost.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other aspect to this, this Vowel tool is it reminds me of a lot of a tool called Descript. For example, Descript is for like podcast editing and video editing. So if I want to go edit a podcast, I don't have to actually listen to the entire podcast and stop and start. It actually will transcribe what I've said. And I can then go in and I can easily delete words, which remove the audio portion. So it's a pretty neat little tool, but that's what I know. Wait for the light bulb to go off on that one because it's a pretty cool tool.
No, that's really cool. Yeah.
But Vowel is primarily there for helping you search meetings. So I love I love all the AI aspect of all of these. I mean, they just make a lot of sense, to help certain tasks. It's not, for example, people can spend all day literally editing, trying to find a meeting, for example, or, hey, let me try and contact all these people on notes, from the meeting. And hey, somebody didn't take notes. Then somebody's got to sit down and listen to that meeting just to find the one part, and so that's where I think the AI aspect really comes into play.
No, it's really smart. Anything that can make us more efficient, man. I'm all for it.
Definitely. Okay. So we don't have any more tools. No more tools. We've covered all the news topics we want to cover this week. And obviously we talked with Brooke about, the importance of social media customer service. So just have one more question for you. And that's literally, what's the best place for people to get in touch with you? Because it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this week's show.
Thank you so much again for having me. If you want to check me out, just go to our website. It's bsquared.media. So it's not bsquaredmedia.com. We're a not.com. So it's bsquared.media, and you can find me. You can find our team. If you search me, Google me, Brooke Sellas. I think I'm like the only Brooke Sellas out there. So you'll find all of my social sites as well. So happy to connect and continue the conversation.
Fantastic. And just a couple of notes for everyone. So I put Brooke's website here on screen. It's bsquared.media. Now, in addition to that, we've got this week's show. We're going to have the blog post recap, episode 265, socialchefs.com/SC265. We're also going to have the Alexa Flash Briefing podcast and obviously the usual audio version as well. And in addition to that, we're going to be back next Thursday. And we're still working on the time there, but next Thursday, we're going to have guest Brian Schulman join us. So we're still working out some of the details there, but that's going to be 11/5. I can't believe we're already in November, man.
I can't.
We're going to be on Facebook and YouTube, youtube.com/social chefs and facebook.com/social chefs. I hope to see you there, but anything else you want to add, by the way, Brooke, before I wrap things up?
No, I think, my one piece of advice, because we've talked about a lot today, is to just follow our tagline, which is think conversation, not campaign. Our Mark Schaefer, who I have a podcast with, says it best: the most human company wins. Those both kind of mean the same thing. Like, think about how you can connect more with your would-be customers and customers by thinking conversation, and the campaigns will come, I promise, but focus on the combos.
Fantastic. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, but we will see you all next week. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.